mean, there's certainly no going back, and that's I think one of the huge good things, redeeming things that have come out of this whole mess of a pandemic. We can reach, when people are traveling, when they're sick, we've got people all over the world who are, who can tune in. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's exciting. Mm-hmm. Yep. To stay connected. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Mm-hmm. For sure.
Okay, you should be able to see YouTube. We are live.
For sure. Yeah. Definitely.
It was funny, man. We did some services outside via radio, and we'd say, and then we would honk.
I remember that. And last Easter, I was looking back. It was when we were in here and online and outside in the parking lot.
I reposted the video. I think it might be a comment earlier.
When?
There's our bell.
And now, yeah, there's our bell. It's noon. It rings on the hour, except overnight because there's noise ordinances. And then it's set to ring at service times, so 5:30, 8:45. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm.
It sounds great.
Yeah, it's nice. It's really nice. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly right. Exactly. All right, well, as the bell told us, it is now noon, so I think that we will go ahead and begin I want to welcome everyone to our last Lenten lecture series. Welcome to everyone online. Thank you all for being here. Let's start with a moment of silence, a moment of prayer. I will read from our noon daily devotions, but let's just start with a moment of silence and recognize God's presence here with us. This is a reading from Isaiah. O God, you will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are fixed on you. For in returning and rest we shall be saved. In quietness and trust shall be our strength. The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Lord Jesus Christ, you said to your apostles, "Peace I give you, my own peace I leave with you. Regard not our sins, but the faith of your church, and give to us the peace and unity of that heavenly city, where with the Father and the Holy Spirit you live and reign, now and forever. Amen." Well, again, I want to welcome all of you. For our final Lenten lecture series, I'm going to share with you the bio of Mr. Brad Hill, and it's one of the more fun biographies that I've gotten to read. Mr. Hill is currently the executive director of an incredible organization called Heart Connection Seminars, and gets to be heart deep in working with folks who truly want to do the work to move beyond surviving and embrace flourishing in their lives. He's originally from Louisiana, went to college in Oklahoma City. Kansas City has been his home since 2000. He loves to help humans and leaders live and love well. I want to thank Steve Connolly for helping to make this connection. Steve answered the call when I put out the question to the congregation, do you know anybody, interesting, anybody good that would be good for this series? And Steve said, I know a guy. And so thank you very much to you for that. And let's welcome Mr. Brad Hill.
What's up? What's up? Thank you for those of you following along. I guess it's YouTube.
YouTube and on Zoom as well.
Okay. All right. So welcome wherever you are. This is an interesting topic for me. The last lecture series. I'm 45. So you may think, okay, well, like what perspective could you possibly have on life? And I'm going to share a couple stories today. And I'm going to share a couple stories that I think will be relevant for this topic, this arena. And then I want to give 3 practical steps that you folks can follow here and that you can follow and you can actually do wherever you are. 2009, I was driving back from Oklahoma City. And we were doing a small group. It was called, we were calling actually Agape Communities. You remember this? Steve's smiling. Just these little plants. And I woke up on Sunday morning and I had what I felt like was a cramp behind my right knee. And I was like, okay, cramp, no big deal. And I was stretching it out. And I thought, okay, I'll drive back to Kansas City, where we lived at the time, and I'll get some muscle relaxers and I'll be good. And drove back to Kansas City on I-35 and the turnpike and the cattle pens exit. If you've been on 35, you're like, cattle pens. Interesting exit. And got home. And the cramp didn't leave. Next morning, I am up at my job at the time at a place called Suture Express, up early. And the cramp was still there. And I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go to work, and I'm going to stretch it out a little more, and I'm going to, just see how I do it. And if I need to go and get muscle relaxers, I'll go get muscle relaxers. So I did that, and it still didn't go away. And I told my boss, it's like, hey, I'm going to go to a walk-in clinic, and I'll just talk to the doctor, get some muscle relaxers, we're all good. Go to the doctor in Olathe, and he says, yeah, it could be a cramp, but I'm going to send you over to Olathe Med to get a sonogram. And I was like, okay, that's okay, no biggie. So I drive over to Olathe Medical Center to get a sonogram, still thinking, okay, I'll do what I need to do, and then I'm going to go back to work in a couple hours and we're all good. And they spent a lot of time looking over my sonogram. And I'm sitting in the lobby. I remember exactly where I was sitting. And they said, we need you to go over to the emergency room right now. I'm like, okay. And there's a lot of things that I remember being anxious about and worried about and stressed about. Even coming back Sunday, but that morning. And I remember walking over from the sonogram location to the entrance to the emergency room at Olathe Med. And there's 4 little booths for check-in. And the doctor was already there. And I walk right into the booth. He looks right at me. We sit down. And he asked me, do you know who Derek Thomas is? I'm a big sports guy. I was like, yeah. He played for the Chiefs. He's like, you're right. I was like, he died. He's like, he did. He's like, do you know how he died? I said, I remember him getting in a car accident, and it was icy. He's like, he did, but that's not how he died. And I was like, okay. And he said he had a blood clot, and it killed him. And he said, Mr. Hill, you have a blood clot behind your right knee. And if it breaks off and goes to your head, heart, or lungs, you will not be here. Okay? It's interesting to me that folks pay thousands of dollars to get the clarity I got in that one moment. Folks go to seminars, they go to weekend experiences, they go to all these different things to get the clarity I got in that one moment. All of these things that I was anxious about, stressed about, worried about, suddenly did not matter. It didn't matter, and it was obvious that it didn't matter. Obvious, just like that. So I go get admitted, and I got some shots in my stomach. I got put on blood thinners. Ultimately, obviously I didn't die. Ultimately got some clarity on what was happening and got a plan to do something different. And I'm saying that to say that I got a ton of clarity in that moment. I got a ton of clarity in my life. I got a ton of clarity about stuff that just does not matter. And I knew it didn't matter. And I got a ton of clarity about, like, actually this matters. This doesn't matter. This really matters. But clarity isn't enough. You can have all the clarity in the world. I could have had all the clarity in the world. Clarity brings hope, but courage brings change. I could have had all the clarity in the world in my life, but if I wasn't willing to take the courage to do something different, that would have happened again. Make sense? Clarity brings hope, but courage brings change. And courage for me, in my life, one of the phrases that I use with the work that I get to do is courage is about jumping. Courage is about taking a risk. Courage is about getting outside of your box. Courage is about taking courage. And I'll say this. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you're watching from. Every good thing that's happened in your life has happened because you jumped. You chose courage. You took a risk. I grew up in a real small town in northeast Louisiana. Population 2,500, maybe. I don't know if they're measuring mosquitoes or not too with that. I don't think there's 2,500 people live there, but cool. And I remember feeling this pull to go to a college to pursue. I got a bachelor's degree in pastoral ministry, a minor in Bible, and getting this pull to go to a college in Oklahoma City. I'm the only guy in my graduating class that went out of state to college. I remember driving out with my mom, leaving the city, Oak Grove, and crying because I was so nervous and so anxious and so scared, but also knowing this is the right thing for me. Like, this is the way home. I met my wife at college. She's from a small town, farm town in northwest Nebraska. So many great things happened there. I knew two people actually in Oklahoma City, two. That's all. Then I got an interesting opportunity to move up to Kansas City, to this town that I couldn't pronounce the name initially, Olathe. It was like Olathe, whatever. And I was like, I don't know, what is that? And I remember the first time I drove up I-35 to come from Oklahoma City to Olathe. I remember passing the cattle pens exit on 35, and I'm like, what is this? Where am I going? And got the opportunity to work at a church in Olathe called at that time it was called Indian Creek Community Church, where I met Steve actually, with an organization or a ministry called Vox. That was a church within a church for Gen Xers. And it was a jump. Like, I remember leaving Oklahoma City, it's comfortable, jumping. I remember that was January 2000, and July of 2000, got married to my wife, Reagan. She married me. Jumped. Give you some recent jumps. 4 years ago, we did not want to have children. We didn't want to have kids. That was just an awareness for us. About 4 years ago, we both felt a whisper to be open to it. And now there is a 2-year-old human being that is alive, operating on the planet right now because we jumped. And I'm going to share this story. 2009, I mean, even me getting the opportunity to lead Heart Connection was a jump. I just shared my heart of this is what I have passion, energy for. We're going to get to that in just a minute. In 2009, I had felt this whisper to go skydiving. It's weird. I don't care there's nothing in me that wants to go skiing. I'm cool with not being anywhere where there's snow, which I know is ironic that I live here sometimes. But there's stuff that whispers to me. And for whatever reason, like skydiving had whispered to me. And so in 2009, took a group of people on Labor Day, and we went to go skydiving. And you know that those moments of jumping are legit when you do it and you immediately have anxiety and you think, oh my gosh, like what did we just do? And you're in it, you know, it's happening. So we took a group of us to go skydiving in North Kansas City. And I was so anxious. I was so nervous. I remember telling Reagan, I was scheduled to skydive at like 11. I was like, I want you to get me there at like 10:30. What I don't want is like to get there at 9:30 and just wait. And we got some other friends and they're going to want to talk and I don't want to talk because I'm so nervous. And like, let's just do this, you know? And we got there at 10:30 and they were backed up. They were backlogged, of course. And so I waited for 2 hours. And I remember your first few skydives, you do tandem jumps. So like somebody's literally on your back. And there was a guy that was about half my size, right? My life was literally in his hands. I'm like, okay. I remember getting in the plane. We get up, I think it was 10,000 feet. And, you know, we're just going. And we're getting ready to, I feel like we've been on this for a while. It's going to be time soon. And he asked me, are you ready? I'm like, gosh, dumb question, dude. Like, of course I'm not. What does ready mean? Like, what does it mean to be ready? I don't know. Do I want to do this? Yes. And the hatch opens. And I'm sitting in his lap. And I have gotten all the information I could gather. I've studied everything. I've gotten all the analysis I've gotten. And all that stuff is great. All that stuff is great, but it doesn't substitute for actually jumping. There is no substitute for it. So, sitting in the hatch on the edge of the seat. And he says, on the count of 3, let's go. You know, I was like, okay, all right. And we go. And we free fall for about 30 seconds. And then actually we have a little problem where I've never done it before, so I don't know. He knows. And then we solve it. He released the first parachute. Luckily there's 2. And the second one worked. And then there's this moment of unbelievable peace. Where it felt like I'm sitting in a chair in the middle of the air. And we're just sitting there. Gliding down. Slowly gliding down. And then we land. There is an awareness and an equity in life that happens in those moments that you cannot duplicate in life. And we're going to get to 3 practical steps that I have for you today and folks watching. 3 practical steps, 3 practical jumps that you can do today, right now in this space. And I believe if you continue to do this, if you make this a part of the rhythm of your life, it will change your life. It will bring so much value because I don't think anyone is interested in just simply surviving. And let's just be honest, like the last 2.5 years, that's what it's felt like. Yeah? It's felt like just survive, just survive. What I'm interested is in helping people thrive. To thrive. Wherever you're at in your life, whoever you are in whatever space you're in. So, first step. Give your time. give your energy, give your resources to stuff you actually truly believe in. People, organizations, whatever it is, to those things you actually really believe in. The people you actually really believe in. The organizations that you actually believe in. If it's your church, like to the churches you actually, does this make sense? To the things you actually really believe in, like audit yourself, check your temperature, and know that you're dynamic and you're going to change and that's going to change. And that's okay. That's okay. In my life, when I have felt the most disconnected and misaligned, and when I felt like I wasn't really living, is when I would say, let your yes be yes and let your no be no. When my internal was yes and my external was no, and vice versa. And I found myself in those spaces where I would be strangely indecisive, or I would say I'm confused, when actually I'm just not aligned. Actually, I'm not taking the courage externally to match the internal yes. Make sense? Like my internal yes is, this is where I want to go. This is where my heart wants. This is what I want to create in my life or be a part of creating. This is what I really believe in. As a people I believe in, this is, I'm giving my time, energy, resources, if that's relevant, to things I really believe in, as opposed to I'm just doing it out of obligation. Tell you right now, obligation don't work. Doesn't work. Give your time, give your energy, give your resources to stuff you really, really, really believe in. Are there people in your life that your energy has shifted for? If you're honest, are there people in your life that, if you're honest, you find yourself like, man, I don't really have energy for them, but I keep acting like I do, and I keep being frustrated, right? Are there things that you're giving your time and energy to that if we hooked you up to a lie detector, we would know that you actually don't really care about this anymore? Does this make sense? Like, we would know this, but you keep doing it. You keep giving time. The two little poker tells for me is if you look at stuff consistently on your calendar and you roll your eyes at the thought of being a part of it. Know what I mean? You're running red lights. If you are on your phone and you get a call from someone and you look at it and you see their name and you are debating if you really want to answer it, not because you don't have time, but because you know what that might look like. Make sense? And you just look and roll your eyes. I've done this. And then, voicemail. Go to voicemail. You're running red lights. And it will cost you in subtle ways and not so subtle ways. Give your time, give your energy, give your resources to stuff you really, really believe in this season of your life. First thing. And I would encourage you in light of that, just to audit that, to think about that for yourself and audit that. Like, what am I giving? Who are the people I'm giving my time and energy to that if I'm just really, really honest, nah. Second one. Tell the people you love, I love you. Not love you, not me too. I love you. I can draw a direct line to me leading Heart Connection, and our main seminar is called Breakthrough, and me going through Breakthrough in 2002. I can draw a direct line to that and my wife saying these three strange words to me, right? She would just say, "Hey, I love you." And I'd be like, yeah, me too. Yeah, I love you, love you, love you. Instead of saying, why is it so hard for me to say these three English words? What is that makes that hard for me? I dove into that, and that's actually what led me to Breakthrough, because I didn't know. I couldn't figure it out. Why is it so hard for me to risk being vulnerable with her when she's choosing this with me? Tell the people you love in your life, I love you. I love you. Tell them. So we're going to do that actually in a minute, by the way. So this is going to be fun. One of my family members growing up would say, he's like, well, she knows I love her, you know. And I was like, cool, man. If she does, then it's really easy. You know, there's nothing. She knows, so that you're just affirming it, right? But I knew, you know. You want the results without taking the risks. You want the connection without the risk of vulnerability. Not happening. So, if you're watching, you can do this. If you're here, you can do this. I'm going to give you a couple minutes, okay? If you have a phone, if you have a cell phone, I want you to pull that out. If you don't and you just want to write this down, I encourage you to do it. But I want you to take a moment, close your eyes. I want you to think of 3 people that you love and that you value. When they come up in your mind's eye, don't cross-examine the witness, don't push it down. Just trust that there's a reason why they popped up. And I want you, if you have a phone, to text them that. If you don't have a phone, I want you to write down who they are and what you love or value about them, and tell them that by the end of the day today. If you're watching, I'm going to give you a minute. We're just going to take a minute. It might be awkward silence for some of you, but we're going to take a minute. And I want you to text them, or if you don't have a phone, like, you can just write it down and just say, okay, I'm going to call you, and text them. And it could be something like, hey, just wanted you to know I'm thinking about you today and I love you. Or it could be, I just want you to, like, I was thinking about you today and I really value you. Like, I'm really grateful for you. And that's it. That's it. Whoever pops up in your heart and in your mind, I encourage you to not question that divine moment. There's a reason why they did, and just let it be. And I encourage you to jump. Give you a few seconds. Good job. Good job, everyone. Well done. Well done. You can do this every day. You can do this every day. I don't do this every day, but I'm mindful to do it. I probably do it a couple times a week, where I just hold space and just in quiet, and as names and faces pop up, I'm like, hey, I just wanted you to know I love you. I just wanted you to know how, grateful I am for you. And it's always interesting, the responses, Sometimes people are like, thank you. Other times like, is everything okay? Something okay? Which is telling. It's just telling, right? It's just telling. And then people can respond back, hey, I love you too. And there's no obligation to play tennis with compliments. You can just say thank you. You can just say thank you. Okay? Second jump. That's the second one. Third one is be good to yourself. Boldly maybe irrationally good to yourself. I have a therapist that I see that I love, and it was me with her 3 years ago, and I'm sharing something, and she's so good at backdooring me. Like, I think we're going to talk about this, and she just smiles, and it's like, oh, cool. And then she says something, and I'm in tears, right? And then unlocks something that I didn't even think was locked. And she says, did you play sports in high school, Brad? I was like, some I did. Played a lot of tennis. I was the best I was. I was not so good at other sports, but I played. And she said, when people talked mess to you, when they talked trash to you, they never really got under your skin, did they? I was like, no. She said, do you want to know why that is? Okay. Yeah. Cool, yeah. Yes. And she says, because nobody's going to say anything worse than what you've been saying to yourself. She says, you get to learn how to treat yourself like you would a best friend. And you get to learn how to not be okay with folks who don't treat you that way. You're good with it. You're used to it. But that's not the way home. If you saw someone say to someone you love some of the things that you say to yourself, is what she told me. She said, you would go off. I was like, 100%. I would. She said, be good to yourself. And audit the people who are good to you in the same ways. And accept them and audit the people who aren't. She said something to me that just blew me away. She said, you don't just need to let yourself off the hook. You need to know there's no hook. Wow. You're trying to do something that isn't even real. So I'm going to give you a practical tool. a practical step with this. I was listening to a guy on an NFL podcast, of all interesting places, driving back from Northwest Arkansas about a month ago. And he was saying that when he flies up to ESPN, to Bristol, Connecticut, one of the things he does before he goes on TV shows is he has a date with himself. He has a whole date with himself. Okay, now this is a big dude. Like, this is a big former offensive lineman. And he says, I'm just telling you, it's a little secret. Like, this is what I do. And he says, I know the date ahead of time. I schedule it. No compromises. I don't schedule any conflicts. And here's my filter for what I schedule the whole day. If I meet with people, if I do, which, maybe I do, maybe I don't, whatever I do, the only thing that filter for me and everything that's involved with that day is, that sounds fun. That's it. And so he says, I have this restaurant I go to. I order the Wagyu steak, like the best steak. It's just me. I'm sitting at the table. I eat it. It's glorious. I go get a pedicure, which I wasn't even aware that was an option until like 5 years ago, and I love them now, okay? But he said, I go get a pedicure, and it's phenomenal. The whole day is just my date day. So here's my challenge for you. You set a date in the next 2 weeks. Pick it. A date. Non-negotiable. And the only filter for you is the people that are going to be a part of this day are people that I'm like, oh man, they sound fun. That sounds fun to me. That's it. No judgment. I have no judgment for you. No judgment for what's fun for one person is not fun for somebody else. No judgment for that. Whatever that is for you in this season of your life, that's what you fill that day with. If it sounds fun for you to do nothing, right, that day, which we think nothing is really actually rest. If it sounds fun to you to do nothing and to be around no one, then fill your day doing nothing and being around no one without any apologies. If it sounds fun to you to oh my gosh, it's been so long since I've ate this food at this place, then do that on this day, period. Whatever that is for you, this is your day. That is a simple, practical way for you to take care of yourself. A date for your day. Have fun with it. You can just write your name. This is my day, And you can put on your calendar if you have shared calendars with someone, right, on your phone, and it pops up, this is my day, and they're like, what is this about? Then you can tell them, I don't know that you're going to be a part of this day, right? But this is my day, and I get to decide what's about my day, and here's what I think you'll find. It will be so life-giving that it'll be a part of the rhythm of your life. You'll find that when you share vulnerably with people that you love and that you care about, it'll be so life-giving that it'll be a part of the rhythm of your life. You'll find that when you align your internal yes, when you audit, when you evaluate who you're giving your energy to, who you're giving your time to, when you audit that and you find that I'm going to start giving my energy to people and times and places and things that I truly, really care about, you will find alignment, and there will be energy. You will find energy. You can give your energy to stuff you believe in and get life from it. That's what will happen. So that's my advice to you. I'm telling you, having a doctor say to me, he asked me, do you know who Derek Thomas is? And he says, well, this could happen. If this happens, and this happens, you're going to die. 35. Well, I don't want that. I do not want that to happen. I don't want the Brad dying plan to happen. So last thing. This may be a stretch for you, or if you're watching, maybe a stretch for you folks here. I want you to turn to someone around you. I want you to say your name. And you can even have fun with it. It's like, hey, guess what? Do you know who I am? My name's Brad. And then I want you to say this phrase, and I'm just getting started. Hey, guess what? I'm Brad. My name's Brad. And I'm just getting started. So we're going to do this right now. Okay? I want you to turn to someone around you. And if you're online right now, I encourage you, if there's people watching with you, okay? If there's people watching with you, you can do that with them right now. That's fine. If they're not watching with you, then you could just write it, right? Say that to someone you care about. So, okay, go for it.
My name's Ken. Okay, I'm just getting started.
I'm Kelly. Just getting started.
I love it. I love it. Do you feel the energy with that? If you feel the energy with that, like I encourage you to continue to step into that, and appreciate you guys. Thank you for having me, and hope this has been life-giving. So appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Very much. Just getting started. I love that. That's a great send-off. Do you all have questions for Brad? Do we have questions from online? Okay. Questions here or thoughts? That was really terrific. Brad, I really appreciate that. Lots of little gems to take forward as we continue through the rest of our Lenten season and on into Easter. And, we're just getting started. So as we wrap it up. Thank you all very much. Thanks to everyone joining us online. Take care and God bless. Thank you all.
Heard you in my capacity in a few years, man. Almost reminds me of running late to box. Although you got more life experience than high school anymore.